Greetings to you all, and welcome to, of course, the People's Movement Show. I'm so grateful that you can join us this evening. Thank you very much for being here. And if you can, of course, see and hear the broadcast clearly, I would be more than grateful if you can let me know and then share it with someone else. Let them know that we are here and we are about to have a discussion on the People's Movement Show. As promised, we are planning to have this broadcast done thrice weekly and probably 4 times. Monday, that's this evening, Wednesday at 6:30, and Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Sometimes more than likely we have Sunday evenings as well. But we would want to be here more often as promised, and tonight begins that fulfillment. Welcome to the broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're speaking this evening, of course, on the People's Movement platform. This is where we are Guyanese, certainly capable of thinking independently. We are unafraid of thinking for ourselves, but we're also unafraid of being united while we think for ourselves. And that is very important to the survival of our society, where individuals are capable of thinking independently, but also being able to act collectively. And that is very pertinent to the development of our country. I'm grateful, I'm overjoyed that I can interact with people who are independent thinkers. This is certainly a delight for me to be here with you this evening. Thank you, every Guyanese, whether you are here or you live overseas in what they call the diaspora, which means whenever a people from one nation or tribe or group spreads or migrates across to other nations, you're said to be in the diaspora. Okay? And so those of you who live abroad, you should have a vested interest in what is happening here in your country, because what is being sold to us is that Guyana is, of course, considered to be one of the wealthiest nations in the world. Well, there's only the world in which we live, no other. And that pitch, that sales pitch, is unhealthy for us who are living a different reality, and for so many other Guyanese who are living a very different reality. What has happened is there has been a calculation or an estimation of how many people are living in Guyana, and from that, they have decided that they will calculate how much money Guyana is making from especially the oil sales and profits and so on. From that, a calculation is done, and the determination is made that Guyana is the wealthiest just about nation in the world because of how many people we have. Good, Garfield, good to see you. You're traveling. Be safe, my brother. And so the notion is that because Guyana has got so few people and so much money, we are said to be, in reference to per capita, the wealthiest nation just about. The problem that we face, though, is the wealthiest nation per capita, per person. The problem we face with that is that those of us who are here, as they say, on the ground and in the nation, know this is quite different in reference to our realities. And we're speaking this evening to Guyana's reality. I'm going to show you, before I bring my brother Jenna on, because he's the one who presented this to us, and then I'll show you as well some words uttered by one called Jagdeo. I will show you. When he was in what they call the opposition, he was the leader of the opposition, the official leader of the opposition. I want to show you what Jagdeo said. And then I will show you what Jagdeo is saying now, for you to have proof of our reality. Our country is being led by deception. If you're a saint, I bid you shalom. Welcome to this broadcast, because you should not be ignorant. And let me just pitch this in here. Those of you who are saints, who follow the way of Yahweh and Yeshua the Messiah, you know that if there's one thing that's important, is that you should be led by the truth at all times. And you must pay attention to the fact that you are living in this country, if you are, And you must have an interest in how it is governed, because the scripture speaks to us praying, or Timotheus, an apostle, being told to pray that he could lead a quiet and peaceable life. It is important for us to be able to function in this society in a quiet and peaceable manner, and that we should therefore have an interest in what's happening around us. There is no reason for you to pray about the state in which you should find yourselves when you are disinterested or uninformed about what's happening in your country. We have to know what's happening in our country. We are supposed to know about the dealings within our territory. And we're supposed to know about bad governance, and we're also supposed to know about good governance. So I want to present to you this evening a photograph that I found to be alarming, to say the least. And it represents what I saw in other places as well, because the other images that we have to address regarding what is our reality in this country. So I pray that you would share this broadcast, make it known, and also remember that we are here on the People's Movement Show Monday evenings, Wednesday evenings, Thursday evenings. I prefer for people to spend time with their family on the weekends. That's just how I am. So I wouldn't be here on Friday or Saturday. And then sometimes, more than likely, we'll be on Sunday evenings. Because we have to begin to get the word out as loudly as possible regarding our reality as people here in this country. I know that at this time, they would call it the prime time. And many persons back in the day used to be tuned into the television set to see the news and to see what happened in the country. Listen to me. I cannot name one media house in this entire nation that is genuinely independent and genuinely unbiased. It's just the truth. Because the catch is that the media houses now have learned, more than anything else, that they are made to survive by advertising. And the friends of the PPP and friends of the APNU AFC and PNC know what to do with their money to control and choke many of these media houses. So the popular ones are afraid to tell the truth. So we're here, and we're going to spread certain bits of information for you. So let me show you this, please. This first image. Pay careful attention before I bring Brother Jenna into the studio. And Jenna will talk about this. This is almost unbelievable. We have got a president and one Edgel, who's the Minister of Works, Dharamlal, who's responsible for local government, Crow responsible for housing. And look at what, in an oil-rich economy, in an economy that grew by 46 to 57, I think, percent in the last year, the country that's said to have the wealthiest people per capita, meaning because the number of persons in the country, the amount of money we're making, look at what is on just before a bridge in Guyana. Look at this. This is, I think, is in Region 3. Look at this. Please, I will bring Jenna in, and I want us to zoom right into this. If you don't mind, please tap on your screen, share the broadcast if you can, because we need to talk about this in our country. What is our reality? What is our reality? I've said to you before, and I will repeat it this evening. When you see works being done, I drove through, I think that would be Providence today, where they're doing works, and just by the road that leads to Massey. I could not believe that a road that is for hours you spend in traffic, sometimes they're repairing this road. The road already has undulations, waves in it, garbage, tens of millions of dollars given to somebody in a contract, and that road, the road that leads to Massey, is already destroyed because it's sinking. Brother Jenna, I'm about to bring you into the studio because you are absolutely qualified to talk about this that we have here before us. Mel, you here? There you are, Brother Jenna. On the screen, I will leave the image. They'll hear your voice, and you can tell us what surrounds this, among other things that you've also dealt with in your area as one who certainly works for the people. Greetings, brother, and shalom. Your mic is muted. Okay, I have unmuted you. Let's see. See if you can mute your mic, please. Your mic is muted, Brother Jen. If you can hear me, your mic, unmute your mic for me, please. Do you have a headphone or something connected to it?
No, no, no. I had some difficulty. Oh, right. You hear me
All
now?
right, I can hear you
Okay.
now. Go ahead. You're on the screen.
Shalom. Shalom, brother. Yes.
Talk
Greetings
to
to everyone. Greetings to everyone here in Guyana and in the rest of the world. I like that introduction. It was a very good introduction. And I like the way in which you present us as an independent movement growing every single day. You see, that image you see there, I took it out a few days ago because someone was trying to take me to his area, and he couldn't pass, and that up it's really a big hole going across the bridge between Tushin that joins Tushin and Zealand on the east bank of the Essequibo River. Just there's that road that canal there is one of the canals coming over to the Burusiri Bridge that separates Demerara from Essequibo. If people who don't know that area, they'll have an understanding. So that bridge really is the old road before the highway from Parika to Burusiri. That was the old road. So that bridge there represents the old road that crosses, that links the two villages, Tushan and
question.
yeah.
Question for the sake of the viewers.
No, no,
Is this in
yeah.
Region 3? Is this not in Region 3?
That is Region 3. Yes.
Is Irfan Ali not from Region 3 in reference to where he lives?
Yes, he lives in a place called Leonora.
Exactly. Proceed, my brother, with that in mind.
But
Just remember
worse,
that the man
worse
who's
than
going to be
that,
president lives in
yes,
this exact region.
yes. But worse than that is that the junior minister of public work, Deodat Indar, lives, believe it or not, less than 5 minutes away from where that bridge is. Seriously, I'm not making a joke. He lives,
Deodat?
Deodat Indar lives 5 minutes away from where that bridge is. We will come to discuss the maladministration of this country, but we just wanted to show people graphically what is happening in this country and that nobody pays attention to this. There was another incident where a couple of weeks ago I took a similar image in the form of a video and I sent it to Minister Edgel. You probably saw that one.
Yes.
I sent it to Minister Edgel on his Facebook, and I said in that video, imagine it is the public road. It's the only road that people could go from Parika down to Hubu to catch Hubu. Those who know where Hubu is,
Yes. I know who
there
Hubo
is
is.
there is no other road. It's the public highway. And I'm sorry, I should have sent that image to you. You may have seen it, but it was despicable. I came out of the vehicle, then a number of people saw me taken out and talking about it. One of the person was a police sergeant at the Parika police station, and he said, "This place is terrible." I mean, I very have to identify the policeman, but he was disgusted that this road was in such a state that the vehicles can hardly pass. Impossible. So those are, I mean, I can name a lot of other examples, and I think we need to discuss, and people need to try to understand why is these things happening? Why is it happening? And it leads me to believe, if I were to give a proper analysis, is that we have a dysfunctional society, something that you and I totally agree with, that the political structure and function of governance is not functioning. Because according to Granger, who made a number of speeches on this matter, I agree with him, the things he said, but he didn't put it into practice,
Mhm.
which is that the greatest form of democracy is when ordinary people have power over their lives, and that can only happen in their communities, in their villages, in their cities, and wherever they live. And we I want to remind people that we do have structures, constitution, which are based on our constitution, which gives people the opportunity to participate in their local governance, i.e., the neighborhood democratic council, what we used to call the village council in some areas, and the municipal council. But these things don't function because in that area, certainly, there has to be someone who was elected democratically as a councillor in that area. And I don't know who that person is, but I was going to get down to that. Who is the councillor for that area? And
But but
video him.
but if I may be beyond the who, let me put this image back, Brother Jenny, because this is something I would like for us to really address. Hence, I alluded to it earlier. This that you're seeing here, people, A, is in the same region from which Irfan Ali, who's paid to be president, is. We cannot miss that fact. Irfan Ali is traveling all around the place, hopping around Guyana, and this is in his region now. Deodat Indar lives, according to Brother Jenna said, about 5 minutes from where this is. How can anyone tell me that something of this magnitude has missed him? Is Priya Manikchan, now we know that's not a story, but let's just say, talk about this, Brother Jenna. Is Priya
But
Manikchan not registered to be
she
the
is
member
the
of parliament
original.
from, we know she
She's
doesn't live.
a, no, but she's a regional member of parliament.
That's what I'm
She
saying.
is officially the regional member of parliament.
Let me go through the list. Do we not have from APNU AFC, Ganesh Mahipal from Region 3,
Ganesh, exactly. And he's like a fifth wheel to a coach. So when we
member
come,
of parliament, right?
yes, but he does
Okay
not.
then.
He does not function. That is the problem we have. So whether they are PPP counselors, PNC counselors, AFC counselors, they do not function. That is the problem we have.
So
So
people of Ghana, do you not, sorry, but people of this nation and those in the broadcast, do you not understand? I hope you do the gravity of the situation we face. We've got a president who's paid to be president, living in Region 3 where this issue is occurring, and Hubu Road is hell. We have got a member of parliament from the administration, another one in Pre-Malichan from the administration. Then you have a member of parliament from the opposition. You've got a regional democratic council. You've got NDCs in the area. And you are telling me that something like this is there. The reason why they put the drums in the hole is because it was there for so long and it wasn't being fixed. So the safest thing to do is put a drum so nobody would fall into it.
yeah, correct.
And you
Absolutely.
spoke to Brother Jinnah, the constitution that allows Guyana to be governed democratically and
Yes,
by the people. We
yes.
have a constitution that facilitates it, but we have a situation or country whereby democracy is not what governs us.
There is no
And we can
accountability.
discuss that.
That's an important point you raised there. I was going to come to that. And people need to understand. You see, the more people understand what their rights are, duties, and responsibilities, and those who are elected who don't seem to know what their duties and responsibilities are. You see, it should function like this, and I think we need to promote and propagate and advocate for these ideas to be implemented. And this is how I will put it. um, for us to have a proper functional democracy, we have to make the elected people accountable to the people. For that to happen, we need to make laws and codes of practice so that those people who are elected know their duty and responsibility. It's like a job. If you employ me as your driver, I have to arrive there at a particular time to pick you up because you have to go to wherever you have to go and wait for you and pick you back and whatever. So it works like that, and it should work like that. Now, people may say, okay, these councillors and regional councillors are not being paid officials, but then why do you take the job? So we begin to start to say, and even these members of parliament, you ask yourself the question, and people who are listening should ask themselves a number of questions. One, do I know who's my member of parliament in the region where I live? Do I know who are my regional councillors? And
Hmm.
you have many of them. Do I know who is my counselor in the area where I live? Every area has a constituency councillor, either elected by one or the other political parties. And if you don't know that, you better well begin to start to ask these questions. And you can easily go. You can't blame these people if we are not conscious and vigorous in trying to get betterment for our people and ourselves. So they come to me and you because they see us as people who are helpful, who are kind, coaches, but they don't realize that we are not the elected officials who are supposed to actually. Because if you go, you and I can go to the council meetings, but we can only make a point at those meetings, then we have to move. We
Right,
we, we can't intervene in the council meeting. We can't put a motion. We can't second a motion. We can't move a motion. We don't have a voice,
right.
basically. So we while we make we that's why we have this program, so that we can inform the public. This is our voice. This is the voice of the people. We don't have other voices inside the structure of society, and unless we understand that, unless we get elected or people get elected to these positions, we are going to be beating from the outside and get nothing done. Because you can't make these people accountable, whoever they are, whether they are from the opposition, whether they are from the administration. We're not going to make them accountable if we don't get into these structures. And that's an important discussion we need to have if we're going to move the country forward.
We have to be involved in the hands-on, I call it, governance of our country, but at this and policy level. But I believe also that, for example, in reference to this bridge, and I'm just showing it repeatedly because I want to make a point. Reference to this situation here, I am of the view that if residents were to walk out onto the main road and say, you know what, no vehicle is going to pass here today unless somebody comes to talk about this bridge and have it addressed. I promise you, especially because it's Irfan Ali's what you call his home. I promise you that within 5 to 6 hours, Ali or somebody will be there to say, okay, or Ejil, we'll have this fixed. Because of the embarrassment, not that Ali would face, but Jagdeo himself would face, knowing that you have got the region where the president, who's paid to be president, I call him, resides, where Manik Chan claim on record, paper, that she's from there. My Paul is, Deodat Indar is, and look at it.
All of them, brother, without exception, including the opposition, Ganesh Naipal. And I have made an official complaint to Aubrey Norton about the behavior of Naipal. The Naipal Ganesh Naipal has plays no role whatsoever in this region. Why should we be paying somebody like that? That's another point about paying these people. And I think that legislation needs to go to Parliament to make members of Parliament accountable to the constituencies which they represent. It brings us to the other. And the reasons why they're behaving like that, Brother Nigel, is this, which we have discussed before, which is that we live under a constitutional dictatorship
Correct.
where Jagdeo and Granger, who are head of the list, I think we did speak about this matter a number of times, but we need to remind
We
people.
should run it again. Yes, do it again. Yes.
Yes, we need to, and you can tell me some of the things that's happening in Linden where you live. I can tell you here. Actually, I spoke to the regional chairman last week, and he promised to come to see me today to discuss some of these same issues. But when I called, he said that he was meeting with the minister and he couldn't come today. But I hope to see him. You see, I am not advocating hostility against this administration or any other administration. I am saying that we must challenge those who are elected because they are the servants of us. They receive monies coming from us, and therefore they're accountable to their paymasters. And we are their paymasters. And they don't seem to understand that. None of them who are elected to the members of parliament are ministers of government or even civil public servants do not realize that we are their paymasters.
I
And
believe
unless
I believe that they realize it, but they do not respect it because they know exactly how they paid. Apart from those who paid by kickbacks and cutting corners and getting bribes all around the place, which is quite a few of them. But they understand the demographics of this nation. What they understand is the dynamics as well. That people have been trained since Burnham's days, um, but worse under Jagdeo. They listen because this person is called a minister. They're like a little god. You do whatever they say or else, and that's the attitude. And then of course we have got these people in this country who believe that because they call ministers, they're entitled to security detail and police officers have to be everywhere and so on, and they've been allowed to function as if they're little gods in this country. My advocacy is for people to remove that privilege from them, and it has to happen not necessarily by aggression, but by being independent in our thinking and bold in our actions, to let them know to their faces that you're not permitted to do certain things in our region. And as you said, Brother Jenna, I was in the council the other day here, the Maritime Council compound. I couldn't believe that I went to complain because it has been almost 2 years since the Maritime Council came, and more than 2 years to collect my garbage. Now, I I am paying rates and taxes, one of the few Londoners who do so. These people have one tractor with one bin and four men collecting garbage in all of a region with almost 19 or 20,000 people and far more by now because it's expanding. And I went to say, I am here to video to show the people why my garbage couldn't be collected for more than 2 years. What was the problem? They have 6 vehicles down, four garbage trucks down.
and the garbage trucks are owned by a private company.
No, the council trucks.
It's owned by
So
the
what had to happen is Sevons from Georgetown would sometimes have to send a truck to Linden to collect our garbage. So Sevons is making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars because the council cannot provide me with a service and Linden's with a service.
you can't
And
repair
they had the nerve. The security officer said, I cannot video in his compound.
the.
Of course, they couldn't get me out of there, Brother General. And it was not a pleasant moment because Guyanese must understand the rights that you have. And that's what you're speaking to. We must be aware of the rights that we have and the power that we possess as a people. And that is what the People's Movement is about. And you can elaborate on that. The rights we have and the power that we possess in reference to these constitutional officers who are actually public servants.
Let me
That's
let
what we
me
are.
let me tell you how powerful people can be if they want to be. Every single person here listening to this broadcast has similar powers like that you and I have. And, some of these videos that I've sent out, the one particularly one that I spoke to you about on the road, on the main road. I went down to Parika sometime during last week,
Mm.
and days before I sent that video. people were greeting me on the streets and said, "You know that video you sent? Did you know that they fixed that road immediately?"
Look at that. Wow.
I was shocked beyond belief, but I was pleased that it had the effect that it was intended to. Um, so it does have you. Everybody can take an action,
Mhm.
individually or collectively. There are lots of videos, and it doesn't. You don't have to go special. Look, I go on the road. I go wherever I go, and I see things. I video it. I talk about it, and I picture it or video it, and I send it along to people, different places, and you get results. I mean, what is happening? The reasons for that is because the elected representatives, as we have identified, are not doing their work because they're the ones who are supposed to take out these photographs, and they should know who is responsible for doing this kind of work. You can correct these situations by very simple things. The roads, you had a road squad where you, in every region, the road squad knows, it gets report through the public works department from the councillors, regional councillors, or citizens. You see, the citizens can report to the NDC office, over their office, but the telephone at the NDC office does not function, and nobody knows
Oh
this
my
phone,
goodness.
cell phone or the WhatsApp phone of the NDC office where I live. And I think at Perica and all the rest of them are the same. So we have a dysfunctional system of governance where nobody's in some of these areas, as you quite rightly said, look, the chairman for my NDC runs an office at Perica, right, as a justice for peace.
Hmm.
And the justice for peace, you look up the regulations, is not supposed to collect any money from anybody.
No.
This man runs a service using his authority. He had even gone so far to try to get the overseer, who eventually resigned, to go and operate from his office. Do you understand how terrible it is? And I understand from sources within the PPP that Priya Manikchan was adamant and said that's not going to happen. And it
Okay.
didn't. But the woman resigned because he harassed the woman to such an extent that she resigned from her position. And that was then later on was re-employed after we protested about her. She's now re-employed at another NDC.
Okay.
This is the type of caliber of people that we have who are governing our local authority, our regions, and our country. That's the situation we have.
And if I may, the reason why in my view, the reason why I see even when you would do videos, there's a reaction to it by the administration, is because I'm of the view that, and many people said it, even within their circle, they are convinced that we are not ill in our intention towards them. We are not aggressive in reference to being just mean spirited. What we are is interested in good governance. And we're prepared to work with anyone who's doing well for the people. And if they're not doing well for the people, we are prepared to say you're not doing well by the people. And I think that's an important point for us to establish on this program. We are not anti PPP or anti AFC or anti PNC. We are anti poor governance. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're not governing properly, then the people's movement would have an issue with you. Because the people of this country must know that you have the power to move the country in the right direction. And that includes moving in the direction of letting officials know that they're not doing well and they're not doing what is right. Because we should not have a case in this country whereby elected officials, they are paid to be in parliament, and in reference to the House of Assembly, regional chairmen are paid 300 plus $1,000 per year, per month, sorry, every month. Our regional chairman is paid almost or more than $300,000. Transportation is provided for them to get around where they have to go. They have allowance to go to town, if I'm not mistaken, or wherever else it is. They have benefits. Now, how could a regional chairman and councillors who receive this stipend say to me that they are not prepared to deal with matters. I must commend the chairman for Region 10. He has been one of the most vocal. However, it's no secret he's with PNC because that's how it's sold. But he's most vocal. What I would like to see in my region is that the chairman doesn't announce his political affiliation because it's already known. It's a politically appointed position. As long as you're regional chairman, it has to be that your party would have won the regional election and therefore you're appointed chairman. So that's a given. Let the voice be about Linden or Region 10 in this case, or Region 3 being pushed for development.
Here's the important point you raised, which affects our democracy, which is that he was not elected; he
No.
was selected. And I heard you making that point somewhere else when
Yes.
you were speaking, where you said that he wasn't elected by the people.
No.
He just like the mayor of Georgetown. The mayor of Georgetown was not an elected person. He was elected by the council, the PNC councillors, who made him the mayor. So
Exactly.
the people had no say. In fact, all those councillors in Georgetown and Linden, they were appointed by Granger, and they could be removed anytime, because remember they were elected. The regional councillors and the member of parliament were selected by Granger because of the list system.
Mhm.
You remember that? The list system. So both Jagdeo and Granger have powers on and above that they have actually taken away from the people the right to elect their representative. And
And
that's a cruel
and we
thing to
have to
do.
advocate for that change. That is a necessary change for Ghana to move forward. Because I want, please, Guyanese, and those of you who may not even be Guyanese, hear me carefully. Even you, Sarah and Lynch, whoever would monitor my broad, listen to me and to us. Listen to me. How could it make sense for us to have Irfan Ali, who is sitting in the seat of the president, but he has no power over who's in parliament? Jagdeo does.
Yeah,
How does that even make sense to you all?
yeah. Jagdeo does.
Irfan Ali is not the head of the PPP. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Irfan Ali, who's the head of Guyana on the books, is not the head of the PPP. Can you imagine that? Aubrey Norton is the head of the PNC, but he's not the head of the list for those in parliament. Our country is in a disastrous state when it comes to governance.
And
Disaster.
you know what is worse yet, Brother Nigel? What is worse is that these guys are defending this absolute
Both
nonsense.
of them.
Yes,
Both of them.
yes, all of them. Have you ever heard Ram Jatan say anything about the absurdity of a democracy? I mean, these guys are cruel. Cruel. They should not be in parliament. I wrote an article recently saying that the AFC leadership should never again be elected at no level in this country, because they're the ones who actually signed that ridiculous uh,
Contract.
contract that gave away all the oil to the Americans. And that's another
Let's
subject.
get to that. Let's get to that right now with the few moments that we have. I want to show people a piece here. I'll take my camera off, and you can do yours as well. I wanted to see clearly what is on the screen. Let me read for you, Guyanese, since Brother Jin is on this point. Vice President Barrow Jagdeo, you would be shocked. In 2019, listen to this statement. Here's an excerpt, this is from Kaito News, of what the politician Jagdeo had to say. This Jagdeo here, you can see in this picture in the inset. They sold us out. He's talking about the PNC, Raphael Trotman, right? And Granger. They sold us out to foreigners, the oil companies. This is Jagdeo's words. Every time there's a find there, or people should be sad because nothing comes our way. We are going to renegotiate those contracts. That's before election in 2020. We're going to renegotiate these contracts because that is not what we had in mind. When we were in the early days, we were coaxing the people, ExxonMobil and partners, to go along. They, being the APNA FC, came into office and met 3 billion barrels of proven reserves, and then give up zero royalty, no taxes, no ring fencing, no local content for these people to spend any money here. That's the first part of the excerpt. Jagdeo was chiding Granger and Trotman and the entire Apnea Sea coalition for the disgraceful oil contract. Uh-oh. Tina, please speak to Guyanese about the lying, deceptive nature of those who lead us in this country.
You know a fellow called, you heard about a fellow called Lionel Laku?
Yes, Lionel Laku, the
He
lawyer,
was, he
never
was
lost a
supposed
case, get a book of our records.
he was
Never
supposed to
lost.
be he was supposed to be a brilliant lawyer. Well, he never used to call them liars. He said they were indulgent in terminological inexactitude.
Terminological inexactitude.
They were indulgent in terminological inexactitude. What he meant was they were liars.
Exactly.
Because he knew the languages. These guys, Burnham and Lionel Locus and E.V. Locu and J.O. Haynes and so on, they were masters of the English language. They had to learn Latin. I, I, I
Definitely.
too. I too had to learn Latin. So we knew the words and their meanings and so on. And so to avoid calling a man a liar, you said, sir, you're indulging in terminological inexactitude. And the guy probably doesn't understand the English language. He's laughing because he doesn't understand the man is calling him a liar. Well,
Right.
what would you say to anybody for a child if you give a 7-year-old child to read what Jagdeo said there? What do you think he or she will interpret that to mean? And when they hear what he and Irfan Ali, worse yet was what is what Irfan Ali said too, which Glenn Lal played last night or some nights ago. And I was shocked because I didn't hear that before. And you see, so it's important for us to actually popularize these things so people see for themselves and hear who they are dealing with. That's
They must. Jagdeo said, in case somebody missed it, that every Guyanese
should be sad.
should be sad when an oil find is announced. That's his words on the screen before you. Every Guyanese should be sad because nothing comes our way. Those are Jagdeo's words when he was leader of the opposition. The official leader of the opposition said that Apnea FC sold us out. They
Yes,
sold us out to foreigners.
and that
That's
he
what he
was
said.
going to,
To
and
the
that he
oil
was going,
companies.
and
Look
then
at
he
this
said he
man.
was going to, then he said he was going to renegotiate. He used that word
Ali too.
renegotiate.
Irfan Ali promised that on the campaign trail that
A
they are going
pamphlet.
to they shall
Ex-
renegotiate the contract.
Exactly, exactly. So let me say this to our viewers. Look, we are in a situation where both all the political elements who are in parliament, whether they are in opposition or in government, they are trembling in their boots because they know very well that 99.1% of the Guyanese people
Don't
want
want.
all contract to be renewed.
Yes.
And, and there are several ways in which we could force ExxonMobil to actually renegotiate the contract because there are possibilities of us doing that. The simple thing is that if they don't do that, when you see these lots are thrown out of office and a proper administration comes to office, you all you have to do is to pass a legislation in parliament to actually nationalize their commanding heights
The oil industry.
oil industry, and you pay them compensation for another 50 years as they're doing to us. You're not refusing
Exactly.
to pay them, that you pay them over a period of 50 years so that the oil becomes the property of the people of Guyana. That's what needs to happen. And that's
And
what we need to campaign on.
yes, and what is also important to note is that in the said contract, in this current contract, it is stated pellucidly that there can be negotiation as long as there is an agreement between the two parties. So Guyana cannot just wantonly decide that they're going to do something. The contract is clear that the permission is to be granted, and I can understand that by Exxon, who's a party in the agreement, that listen, we're ready to renegotiate the contract. The contract never said that it cannot be renegotiated. It said that you can make recommendations or appeal to have conversations about the state of the said contract. Now, how much more clear can it be to Ali, Jagdeo, Grange, and all of them? But they don't want to do it because they understand plainly that there is a colonialist, imperialist attitude applied to this contract and to the oil that is supposed to be ours. It is. Now, let me show you this before we move on to Jagdeo's other statement, because this fella, I call him Parmesan. His name is Parmenan. Whenever we are speaking in this manner, one of them will pop up. He said the world is moving to cleaner energy, hence there is not much leeway for negotiations. I mean, I want Guyanese to see the kind of idiocy that have that will creep in to defend the PPP foolishness. If you move into cleaner energy, it means that Exxon Parmesan doesn't have much power then if you move into clean energy. And that's the first part.
No, what does he mean by that? That there's no leeway for
Jagdeo told us that. Jagdeo said that because the world is moving to cleaner energy, then in the next few years, they won't want oil anymore. Utter garbage. Because what Parmesan need to know, and I call him Parmesan on purpose because it's cheese, Parmesan need to understand that, since 1832, electric cars were invented. Just take note of that. So if ever the world wanted to go the route of electric cars, they would have gone a long time ago. But when they discovered the power in the internal combustion engine using fuel, and when they discovered, like in Saudi Arabia and those places, how much money you can get from fossil fuel, they weren't going that route. So this nonsense about the world is moving to clean energy is garbage. Because if I want to use your argument that the world is going according to you and Jagdeo to hear that to cleaner energy, then let's have this conversation. Would it not make more sense for Exxon to say, hey, all right, pretty soon nobody want oil anymore. So Guyana has power to say, well, fine, we don't want to do business with you because we're moving to green energy tomorrow. So forget it.
You know what? You know what we should do? We should invite Glenn Lal to come to one of our programs and
I
question
wouldn't
him.
mind.
I will speak to him because I mean he seemed to be he seemed to be the most vocal person on this oil thing. But yeah, because he made a very important statement the other day, which I think is very interesting. He said, even if we were to ring fence ExxonMobil, because at this moment, as he claims, we are paying for all the expenses that ExxonMobil creates all over the world. So what he's saying, even if we were to ring fence what we have here, what ExxonMobil is producing here, which is to say, um, only the expense that they create in this country, that they must extract the expenses and not for the whole world, that alone will actually give us 10 times the amount of money that we're getting now. Even on that one question. And if you notice what Jagdeo said, Jagdeo mentioned that in his statement. Put it back
Yeah,
to
but
the
my
put it back
my
to the
my
code.
sorry,
But
my
Jagdeo
main
not
gripe,
doing that.
yeah, my main gripe with Glenal is this. On two occasions I saw him with Jagdeo in the studio. And I've said it publicly, so I could say to him as well. He had much to say before Jagdeo got into the studio. When Jagdeo gets there, he speaks to, yes, Mr. Vice President, but sir, you understand, and sir, and he cannot use the same energy, verbiage, and truth to Jagdeo. I've seen it twice. My question is, why is it that when Jagdeo is before his face, he cannot address the matters that he speaks about on TikTok
Because
and where it is?
Glenn Lar is a political infant, you know. You saw that now he sacked um, Freddie Kissoon. But he knew Freddie Kissoon was doing nonsense all the years. So suddenly he sacked Freddie Kissoon because it was too much for him because Freddie Kissoon virtually was having an alternative program which was countering his and making him look really stupid. So you had to get rid of him. So these guys have no real credibility. But the fact that we can bring him on because oil is an important thing, and he has a lot of information that we probably don't have. Because
What he has, and I'm not saying because I don't want to have him here. I would like to have him here because we believe in agreeing and we also believe in disagreeing. I believe that any guest who's on our show should be given the liberty to say how they feel, and as Guyanese, we're going to interact with each other for the betterment of our country. As I said, my main grief or gripe is that he doesn't deal with Jagdeo in a manner that presents Jagdeo to be the untruthful,
I, I,
disingenuous person he
I
is.
agree with you because I agree with you. He's not a journalist by any stretch of imagination.
Thank you.
So
So, so
he has no ability to interview anybody for that matter. Doesn't understand.
right.
Journalism is a science. It's an art, and
For
he's never.
one, and I saw one occasion Jagdeo told him, okay, this is what you're going to do. The number you call in, the figures you call in, Jagdeo told the people in the studio, Glenelg's employees now, y'all Google it. As I say, Google, search this on any engine and prove what Glenelg said to be true. And he said, search and prove of me to say, when they searched what Jagdeo said is true, Glenelg just threw because he didn't have the facts at hand. Of course, journalists don't make that mistake. Journalists should never make that mistake where you throw a challenge out to someone you're interviewing without first of all having in your mind the knowledge to debate. But let me go further to what Jagdeo said. We can discuss this, Brother Gina. I'll take my camera off so I can show you what Reed would say. Jagdeo continued, paying our people Guyana $72,000 per month, Guyana dollars per month, a month, when the foreigner is getting US 10,000, bringing water from California to drink here. We are paying for all that. Jagdeo's words, I'm reading to the viewers now. Landscaping, they want to contract it to a company coming from abroad. And the Trinidadians and others are just walking in, not only in the oil sector, but they're getting all the prime lands too. So that is why I got back into politics. I am not prepared to see this happen. I have no desire to be president again. The words of Bharat Jagdeo. He has no desire to be president,
Again.
no desire, all right, to be president again. But he got back in because Guyanese were getting $72,000 in 2019 and so on. And a foreigner is getting $10,000. They're importing water from California to be drunk here in Guyana. These are Jagdeo's words. Trinidadians are getting prime lands in Guyana. They want landscaping to be done from some company from abroad, not Guyanese landscaping companies. This is Jagdeo. Go ahead, Brother Jenna.
Sometimes I simply can't find words to describe the situation. I don't know what words to use to accept using explicit language, which I don't think you will allow me to say on this program because you're such a holy guy. But they really, I mean, as I said earlier, a little child reading that of 10 years old, reading that and acts, and when you put aside the fact that these guys have done absolutely nothing to correct the situation. And that's what he said he's going to come back to power to do. He's come back
Exactly.
to office. He doesn't want to be president. Come back to office that he's going to clear all this nonsense and this rubbish that Greens and them created.
And what we must take note of is the fact that when Jagdeo, who didn't want to be president again, got back into office in 2020, let's not forget that they had the oil and gas expo at the Marriott, where Rutledge was here. Let's not forget that Ali and others were so much were pandering to these people, kowtowing to them. You swore that they give Ghana the best contract because neither Ali or Jagdeo said one word about the robbery, about the renegotiation, and I was out there protesting. If you remember,
That's true.
with
With Mahadio and them.
Mahadi and those people, correct? Because I said that this is a disgrace.
You
The
notice,
same
Norton,
man who told Granger and them that y'all sold Guyana out is harboring, and they brought the Ghanaian, I think it were prime minister, president,
the
the
Ghanaian
criminal,
promise to, yes, to endorse this nonsense.
to endorse the foolishness in this country. That's what Guyana
You,
has to do.
you
And my
notice,
passion is because this is wrong in every sense of the word.
and
Wrong.
you notice the PNC goes along with this nonsense. And the reason for that is because Aubrey Norton is caught in a vice. Because Granger can dismiss him, he can remove him as a member of parliament because he controls the list. This is the farcity of the situation. Aubrey Norton has not got powers. And
No.
all the big mouth that he talks about, he knows that Granger is the man who is in control of the situation. So if he were to come out and protest, if he were to protest as you did, then you get the wrath of Granger because it was Granger who agreed that what Trotman signed. Is he not going to deny that? What explanation does Aubrey Norton? And this is the nonsense
He
that we
cannot
have.
deny it. He cannot deny it. And what's important, because I want to go back to what this prominent fellow said about the, because it's something Guyanese have been hearing and believing, that the world is going green. Granger was saying that too. And hence there'll be less interest in fossil fuel. The first thing that this fellow, he doesn't even in Guyana, by the way. The first thing you have to take note of is this. Why is the USA stockpiling oil? Why? If they're going to go green, why are they harboring oil for themselves? Think about that. That's the first thing to tell you how stupid your argument is. Why would the USA, of all nations, be harboring and hoarding oil? They don't want to drill theirs. They're buying for people and keeping it in their bosom. Why? Why do we have now the knowledge that cars are being made, aircraft is still being flown on fossil fuel, to run with fossil fuel, and nations are still buying oil at exorbitant prices? ExxonMobil declared $55 billion, I think it were, in profits, and interest in oil is declining. When one company, not BP, Exxon, can
In fact,
declare $55 billion profit.
the U.S. administration has gone so far as to remove all the sanctions from Venezuela, and they are now buying Venezuelan oil, which rather than using their reserve. I don't think people know that the U.S. has tremendous amount of oil reserve.
Exactly.
People don't seem to know that, and
Among
they're
the
not.
most in the world.
Yes, and they're not using that reserve. Why are they not using the reserve? Because they know that if there is a depletion of the oil, as is happening in the price of, why do they want? I don't understand the mentality of these people. The American people are suffering as a result of the rising price of fuel in the United States of America, and they blame the Russians for the Ukraine war that has actually caused the rise in fuel, which is a lie,
Absolutely.
because if if they have so much reserves, why don't they use their reserve at this time? And why do they raise the price? Why are they buying fuel at the highest price at this time, and they're saving their reserve for what purpose? It doesn't make sense, does it?
And it doesn't. And what I want to, because I don't have an issue when PvP cronies or trolls come to our page. We're not the kind who run away from them. And that is what makes us so dangerous to the PPP and many other apnea seen them, because we don't run away from challenges. We understand disagreement and we address them as it should be addressed. The plot here, people, and Brother Jen and I may die. Some of you are young enough to live to see it come to pass. The US has a plan when it comes to fossil fuel. They will challenge based on military power and their leverage anyone to stop using it while they stockpile theirs. There's going to come a day when many nations will not have oil at their disposal because they close down the refineries and so on. Then the US becomes again a dominant force because of fossil fuel. Mark my words. They know that they're not intended to go anywhere called renewable resources and all that. They are going to wait until nations don't have it, And then they say, okay, we have oil to sell to you at the price that we have decided. And you cannot argue because you need it. Remember, I don't know if you recall what happened to Guyana with waste oil, the bunker sea fuel from Suriname. Remember, if you remember that, one little hiccup, and the supplier, because Guyana stopped supplying having this bunker sea stuff, and say, okay, then we're not selling any oil to y'all. When they had a ferry story, and it was chaos at GPL. As simple as it is, our neighbor could cripple all of GPL and who rely on bunker sea fuel. Imagine that. There's a play here, and if you fall prey to it, you're finished. Why would the US invade so many territories if there's no interest in oil? Why would they invade Iraq? No interest in oil? Why Afghanistan?
You destroyed
Why would they
Libya.
want to control the nations with oil fields? Why Guyana? Because some people don't realize the US has invaded Guyana yet. That's another discussion for Brother Janai to have. People don't see the political invasion when Mike Pompeo came here.
Actually, the fellow who they praise so much, um, um, Trump. Trump. It was Trump administration that actually imposed the sanction on Granger, forcing him to resign, and
All right.
because they threatened to kill him, and
Wow.
Granger is such a coward that he just gave up and threw in the towel. Basically, that's what he did. I was wondering when he did that, if the Venezuelans were to invade Guyana, where would he run? that's why that's why Burnham did not make him the head of the army. Neither did I think it was Hoyt who made him army chief, right? But Mr.
I,
Burnham didn't make him the army.
I've heard somebody say that he said that his life was threatened. I really don't know the facts of it. He didn't say it to me. I didn't hear him say it publicly. I heard people say he claimed his life was threatened. Hence, he just
The
backed away.
Americans threatened. You
Interesting.
remember? Let me recall. Let me let you recall this. And Granger is dishonest because if you are president, Burnham would not, or Jagan would never do that. They
No,
will tell the nation what is happening because they are going to prepare them mentally and psychologically
what
to
I said right.
what to expect. And those are real leaders. I remember when Grenada, the Americans invaded Grenada, Burnham was very upset about it, and he
Yes.
spoke and criticized it. It's on record, Jagan too. But these characters here, these are not leaders, you know.
No.
These guys have got no character, as Dr. Ramsahoy would say. And he said it many times, Dr. Ramsahoy, one of the most brilliant lawyers we had in Guyana. He was the first attorney general. He said, these guys have no character. Nandalal, Jagdeo, Moses Nagamutu. He said Nagamutu, the professor told him, because he was the founder of the law school, he was the first principal, Dr. Ramsahoy.
Ramsey.
Yes, he was the first principal for this West Indian law school. And he said a professor told him that Nagamuto was such a dunce that if he felt like busting his head and put the law books into his brain, into his skull. These are the kind of people who come to become leaders of our country. I mean, you can go on talking about this. I mean, look at what Granger did. The people at the place where they invaded and they removed them at Mocha Al Qaeda.
Yes.
Granger was supposed to give those people title for the lands, and if they had got title, they got transport for the land, and they were entitled to it. This argument now about these people were, I don't know if you saw Starbrook News calling these people squatters.
Quarters. Yes.
Did you see
Disrespectful.
that? Did you see that?
Yes.
And nobody's objected to it
Norton hasn't objected to it yet. As far I
because
have not.
Norton doesn't even read the papers. you
Well,
know,
that's the case.
I told
But
Norton, I told Norton that he must have regular press conferences. How long does it take for us as we sit here to inform the public and he's an elected person, he's the leader of the opposition, shouldn't he be having regular program press conferences every week, 3 times a week at least, to
Be,
address
be,
issues? Shouldn't he do that? What
yeah,
is
but
he doing?
beyond press conferences, Norton should be having what I consider to be political forums where he can inform people and also, to prove his strength, be challenged by the likes of you and me and others, whereby we're saying, we don't agree with this. Or if you intend to lead Guyana, how would you deal with this? And it's important because while you're talking about this, I must publicly commend Norton on his budget presentation. For once, he did something that I consider to be very critical as leader of the opposition, where he presented an alternative to the
But did
budget.
you see me? But brother, I wrote
You
to
challenged him
him.
to do that.
I wrote to him
I
telling
remember
him,
publicly that you
yes,
said there should be, you said it again, the people's movement at work here, there should be uh, an
and I,
alternative budget. Because you
exactly,
can't see your opposition leader, but you cannot tell us what you would have done if you have this kind of money. And he did
exactly,
well
and
because
he
he
did
spoke
that
to
well.
certain powerful facts whereby you shouldn't have anybody in an oil-rich economy. This the 40, 56% increase in GDP, and you're still taxing people at the level you are. He did well.
Yeah,
He
he
did
did well.
excellently in his
Well,
presentation,
and he
and
needs to
that's what
take
I'm being fair.
he need
Norton
to
deserves to
take
be
the
commended.
next step. I told him is to take that into each of the communities across the country. That video should be sent to every single Guyanese and go and visit them and talk to them in detail about
Now
each.
it's
He labeled it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. Or however much he did label them. So people could actually simply set out. It is the best speech that I have ever heard someone giving from the opposition in Parliament. And I'm very happy. And you're right what you said there. That was correct what he did. And he tumbled all of them because they were expecting him to just have a go at the budget, but he presented an alternative budget
correct.
actually, and they could, none of them came back on it.
Up
None
until today, up
until
until
today.
today, the great economist as he sees himself, Jagdeo, couldn't touch it. He wouldn't touch it because
They were not
he knows that what Norton presented is a better budget because it was more people focused.
exactly.
And why did that occur? Because viewers mustn't miss this. Jinnah, brother Jinnah, issued a challenge to Norton. You are the opposition leader. You should issue an alternative. And he listened.
You listen.
At least it's obvious that he did.
No,
And
you
he
listen.
presented with great class.
Yes,
Even in his speech were some uh, hints about what we would normally recommend. And I'm happy to know that there is now in the PNC or at the AFC an ear to what the people are saying, because there should not be taxation in this country for certain things. There
exactly.
should not be any fee charge at any University of Guyana or any learning institution. That is one thing Norton should stand and arrange a protest for in
Yeah,
front of UG, in front of Premier Chan's office, to say, we refuse to have another doctor pay a penny in this country for education here because the law doesn't permit it and we now have money to do it. See, that's when he shows now he's prepared to act on the budget and act in defense of his convictions. And that's where his inspiration of those around him would lie. But we both know that Granger has the power. That if he doesn't please Granger tomorrow, Granger says, okay, then you're off the list. He
we
does. And all the members of parliament, Granger could take every one of y'all out of parliament if he wants to. All 31 of y'all out
because
and set the war.
some of them there are looking. You see that conspiracy between Ganesh, Ford, and Mursaline, who conspired, and then it was leaked by Ganesh. I understand. I'm not sure. And I shouldn't be saying this now because I don't know. But somebody told me that Ganesh would have released, because how else would it have been released? Somebody within that circle would have released that thing, and they didn't expect how it would have backfired on them. But that shows the level at which the bankruptcy of the politics of the people who go in elect, who put in selected to put in parliament, they have no sense. You
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
you saw the recent case where Ford represented someone. What was it about? Oh, the lands of the Amerindians. Why would you want to go and defend that nonsense when I mean, you don't go on to the court as a political element to go and defend something nonsensical like that, and the court throw it out. And you remember the case that was recently
Yeah,
where they sued the
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 mining
com-
company and the
yeah, the
councils
mining
made by
the
the
mining
people that were just getting lands to go and permit
exactly. So
manufacturing. So you can't.
on whose side Ford was on politically?
I don't
Did
know
he
whether it was on any side.
does Ford expect that the Amerindian people will vote for them? What kind of stupidity? What kind of fellow who says he studied law and you're there in politics and he's supposed to be the shadow attorney general? Would you want a man like that to be attorney general of your country? Would you?
Our realities are harsh in that some persons believe that they have to earn their pay in reference to their profession.
Nonsense
So
for the Niger. For
they head,
Niger.
I'm just saying, they head
Yeah.
out into defending any matter. For me, I would not take the risk if I know that my stance in a particular situation can affect not just me, but a group of people I represent in the true sense of the word, in that it is certain things are indefensible. You can't go taking people's stuff away and say, we have that come and dig for gold in your backyard. It can't happen. Not with the Armenian people for sure. And that should be something that's known. I mean, as one who's in law, but I'm saying that the reasons, and that's why I hope that we can have interviews and discussion with all of these people, because we don't shy away from any challenge. And I'm saying that repeatedly. We do not escape. You sit on Sharma's show, and yourself and what's his
I'm a
name?
good I'm
Hamilton
a
Green have some serious bantering moments. But that's what life is about. You're not
Not
afraid to sit
only
when Sharma and Hamilton challenges you, or
and off
callers to challenge you.
exactly, and off the phone we talk. We're casual with each other.
Exactly.
We're cordial, but when it comes to facts and figures and truth, I mean, we differ because he tries to present things that are false and are not and defend nonsense. I mean, Burnham did some good things, and we need to compliment him for some of the things we did up to today. They can't even repair the Linden Highway, which
Thank
is
you.
a major gateway to the interior of our country and the thousands of people who live there.
And
I
what
mean,
Guyanese do not know, many people are uninformed of this, but there are many reports that with Hoyt, before he passed, the money was allotted to resurface the entire highway, to repair it. The
I see.
PVP, Cherry Jagan, won the election and it never happened. Sam Hines came and said, we'll fix it, and it did patches of the road, and that was the end of the matter. So we as Guyanese need to know what happened to the money that was allotted to fix the highway. Or was it all spent because of inflation? I don't know, but somebody has to tell us that if the work they did back in the 90s was what should account for the work done on the highway. Before we close, Brother Jin, I don't know if you saw this permanent fella's uh, comment about what you're saying, but I want us to address him, and I'll give you a chance to do so.
And he should act on getting the oil money straight
Not
out.
that one. Yeah, but I just want you to see that one for sure.
It's time to take advantage of the oil market and if oil is needed most due to the
Okay,
war between we were looking at the war and escalated. But what could we do? What could we
not
do
that
about
one.
that?
Right.
Uh,
I'll show you this one. This one, Heidi. That's the one here. Because you
trying
are speaking to the matter regarding election. And that's what he had to say.
re-election in front of the world media. He's saying that he should support democracy and hold on to power. What does he talk? What nonsense he talk about? What am I saying? I didn't hear that part. What am I saying?
That Granger should subvert democracy and hold on to power because Granger was too weak, and the US essentially threw him out because he said his life was threatened and stuff like that. What he's saying is that PNC or APNESC tried to rig the election. I want us to challenge Parliament to type on the screen before I leave. Why did Anil Nandalal and Bharat Jagdeo fight so vehemently, passionately, with all that they have to not have the two petitions heard in the court of law? Just type
That's
on.
that's the answer for him. Let him answer
Exactly.
that.
I'm waiting
If
for him to answer before we.
if I have nothing to hide, why am I don't want the people to hear? Because the, APNU, I don't know He doesn't know, you don't know, nobody knows the facts of the matter. Both of
What
them
have
are
we been asking for, Brother Jenna? You and I have been asking for, among other people in this movement, show repeatedly. Let the matter be heard in the court.
let the matter
Let's
be heard
finish it.
in the court. Now,
That's
this
what we've been saying.
nonsensical, look how foolish it is and childish. They set up a presidential commission to investigate the rigging of elections when I can't find anybody more stupid than these people, Irfan Ali and Jagdeo them. That then you're going, Anil Nandalal, that you are going to set up what he said, who caused the petition to be thrown? No, it's not them. They called for they called Parmalan. It was Nandalal who was fighting like a dog
This
to
man,
get,
where country,
get
where's this boy from, man? Where is he
he
from?
he doesn't live in this country, so that's the trouble we have with
He
people who
doesn't
don't
live
know.
in the world, because this is
Doesn't
a
live in the world.
basic
Yeah.
common sense question.
Anil
Why were
Nandalal,
they fighting
who,
for us to not hear the petition?
and
That's what I'm asking.
I blaspheme Anil Nandalal for somebody who's supposed to be a lawyer and an officer of the court. A lawyer is an
Exactly.
officer of the court who takes a special oath to protect the Constitution, to speak the truth, and to defend justice. Is that justice? If something goes to the court to be tried and you are then fighting for it not to be heard, is that justice? How are the Guyanese people going to know about the truth? Does he know the truth, Parmanan? Does he know the truth? I don't know the truth.
I get,
Does he know
just
the
for the
truth?
fun
But
of
he's
it,
saying,
I give Parliament a few minutes to. I just have the fun of
look at the nonsense. Look at the
that report.
nonsense he's writing.
Who submitted
If if
Parliament?
if
There
if
are two petitions, not one.
yes,
The late submission was one. There's another
yes,
petition that Jagdeo said should never be heard either.
yes,
Get your facts straight.
both petitions, but the petitions will end up at the Caribbean Court of Appeal. Maybe
Exactly.
after, maybe after the next election. So you see the nonsensical thing about the justice system, where you have a petition which is supposed to have been heard as quickly as possible. All right, a special court should be set up to deal with election. It doesn't have to be the chief justice. Bring people from abroad, just like how they're now wasting taxpayers' money to try to investigate the elections, whether it was rigged or not, and giving people to give evidence on it. It's a waste of taxpayers'
Uh,
money. And
Our
it's
reality
not
is a disgrace, because millions of dollars are being spent on this farcical commission of inquiry, where the president, paid to be president, Irfan Ali, one man, could arbitrarily and autonomously say, you, and you come. I pick you out to investigate election. And
yes,
the Chief Justice acting, as well as the Chancellor of the Judiciary, the appellate court judges, he said, no, we don't want you to hear it. You mustn't hear a word about where they can summons and deal with people constitutionally. He said no. And then Lambert said, no, they shouldn't hear it. That should not go out there. Let's have Ali choose 4 men or 5. You handpick them, Irfan, and decide that you have a commission. And these people honestly expect you to take them seriously. But I was just having some fun with Parliament,
on,
and because I find it fun. It's laughable,
on
actually.
what basis are they going to prove whether the election was rigged or not? On what basis?
On
The
what basis?
evidence the evidence is kept in the archives of the Supreme Court,
Exactly.
because they decided to take all the documents, and the courts must keep it because they were afraid that somebody will get into the vault of GCOM
Let's
and so
not forget, let's not forget that Roxanne George had ordered that PNC or APNU AFC submit their statements of poll. Let's not forget that.
yes,
That's before the court.
yes,
She made an order. Bring it to me. She made a request. GCOM had to submit theirs. And I was saying this since March. It is simple. All GCOM has to do is to present to the world what they have from the 10 returning officers. Case closed. Because they were given statements of poll. Then Claude Singh never did that. The 3 PVP commissioners refused to do it. That should tell Parmesan cheese something. Why, if you all say Granger rig, why don't you say, well, here's the evidence? Why didn't P3 commissioners, Bibi is now dead, say, here, Robeson Ben and the other young lawyer one, say, okay, Y'all want to cheat? Look, the evidence here from GCOM. They didn't do that either. So my question to Parmesan, again, I call you Parmesan for a reason. Why is it that even at the GCOM level, your commissioners refuse to show us the GCOM's official statements of poll? Why?
Remember there was a recount.
Uh-oh.
There was a recount,
Don't
and
go there, Jenna. Don't go there.
even and you know the thing is that what we are arguing for justice. I am not interested if the PNC elements rig the elections. I'm against that because I was locked up in 1973 for trying to
Fighting
prevent
against
government
the same
from
thing.
rigging the elections. So
Exactly.
why should I now try to defend rigged elections? This guy just downright stupid. He does not know history. He has no experience in elections. I run elections. I run elections in this country. I also run elections in England, where I had to stand as an independent candidate because the Labour Party refused to allow me to be a candidate because I criticized the leader of the local council. So democracy in this country is as bad as that in England too. You know
It
what I
is
mean? It's as
across
bad
the
as
world.
across the world.
They,
So
in my view, as we close, I do not view any nation of this world as being truly democratic. The closest was Libya. And it may sound strange because Gaddafi had councils across Libya, and it's reported that he would sit with them or allow them to sit and meet the people. And the people say, we want this, we demand this, we like this is good enough for us. And Gaddafi would then say, okay, this is what would suit the people, this is what they've requested, let us do this. Those are some very, very telling reports that I received about Gaddafi and read about him and saw in reference to publications, that he was very strong in councils in the villages and territories, saying what they want through communicating with the people. That is a true democracy, if you ask me, because it's healthy, as you began by saying, at a good way for us to close, for democracy to be governed or to be experienced in a manner that says what it truly is. The people speak, and the servants of the people who are elected represent. That is about the clearest way that I can put it for Guyanese. True democracy is when the people speak in reference to what we want governed, and the representatives of the people who are elected, they present what we say. That does not exist in Guyana.
let me give you a concrete example what you just said there. The administration called a big conference without consulting with any of the farmers organizations or farmers in this country,
We were there.
and they set a target of reducing food by
Food
25%.
import.
People to
Food
hear
import.
this. Yes, they want to reduce the importation of food to the Caribbean by 25% by 2025. We are in 2023, and up to today, 2023, they have not told the farmers, they have not gone around and talked to the farmers about their target. And when I speak to the farmers, they're shocked, they're horrified because they're the ones who are supposed to produce the food. Irfan Ali has and the ministers and the government and the civil servants are not going to produce the food. So
But we've got an
consultation,
increase in importation. We're importing tomatoes from Brazil. We're importing tangerine oranges from California through Brazil. We're importing watermelon. So, Irfan, things we used to sell and plant right here, Guyanese don't buy it anymore. Guyanese are buying the yellow tangerine with
yes,
the tough skin from Brazil. It's actually coming through California. What are
exactly.
you telling us now? So when after you announce that they will reduce food importation by 25% by 2025, we are increasing importation. And there are reports that food production is declining in Guyana. They're not as much citrus is not being planted and harvested anymore.
Well,
Watermelon is being on the decline. Banana has got and planters have got a disease attacking them. We have got a crisis in our hand in this country.
we have a food crisis. You're right.
Yes, we do.
Plantain is sold at $500 for a pound. Did you believe that? And
What? There's a disease attacking them.
yes, and I bought some sweet potato today, which is about $500 for 2 pounds, when it used to be $90, $9 or $90
ninety
huh?
dollars a pound.
Yeah, yeah, less than a pound, less than 100 Ghana dollars for
Mhm.
1 pound. You're now paying $500 for 2 pounds. The same thing with those. So these are, and what is so, I can't find word to describe the mentality of these people who rule us. Now, how are you going to be thinking about planting carrots, broccoli,
And broccoli,
and what the other thing? What
cauliflower.
cauliflower? I mean, aren't our viewers laughing? They should be laughing at this. The stupidity of growing foreign plants and food that some people don't even know. They don't know.
Exactly.
People know about okra. They know about tomatoes grown locally, bora, pumpkin, squash,
My
name it, and all, yes, and all the ground provisions and so on. What you call baigan, and all these things. That is the things, same, and all these things that Guyanese are accustomed to. That is what they use, and that is what that there are hundreds of different types of things that people use here, and that's not available readily. So if you're going to feed and hold and house and clothe the nation, this is what you have to do. You have to plant locally so that the people can actually, um, you know, oil overshadowed all those other small items.
out
Well,
within.
uh,
He's saying that all this plan about stopping reducing importation when oil start flowing for real. Ali was done with that. Ali don't talk about that right now.
so what is he going to import food?
That's exactly what they do, because they're already doing it.
Yes, it's already happening, and nobody's
It's
saying
being
anything about
smuggled
it.
into Guyana.
There's been smuggled, yes. And shouldn't they be going to these marketplaces and seize these things and find out where they come from?
Oh no, no, they can't do that because they say
Why?
that Burnham did that. That's what they tell you. Burnham did that,
Born under
but
that.
Burnham
Born
isn't with it now
on,
because it's
born on ban,
classification.
born on ban food. So Bornum is
Brother Jenna, it was
right.
good
So,
being with you, my brother. Please give us your closing remarks so
well,
we bid of you
well,
shalom.
well,
Have a
well,
wonderful night. I enjoyed
well,
the program tonight. It was
the
very,
truth
very
of the
informative.
matter, the truth of the matter is that we can't find Mr. Jagdeo anymore as he used to speak, because I guess there's nothing to say now because he's been caught with his pants down. I wrote that article, you remember, about Jagdeo with his pants down. I'm waiting for him to come back to defend himself, because Glenlal, for whatever it's worth, is really taking him by surprise, because
Yes, taking him to task.
it's really taking him to task. And we must give credit to Glenlal for being such a consistent advocate for the renegotiation of this contract, because it means a lot. Guyanese must understand that it means a lot if we are going to get more money from our oil. We should Pensioners should get at least $50,000 a month without
One hundred
any
thousand.
hesitation. Huh?
100,000.
Thousand they should get without any hesitation, because if next time when we have this program, we should speak on oil, and let's get some more facts and figures.
Let's have Glenn now then. Let's try to have him on for Wednesday if possible. You can reach out to him. I can do so.
Uh,
You have means of getting to him.
well, I don't know. So I mean, he has that level of arrogance, you. I don't know if he want to come on our show, but
Give it a try.
we
No, we
give it.
tell people that he refused to come. It's simple. He said he wouldn't come or whatever.
I will try and call him. Yes,
All right.
I will.
But it's not. And please, and people need to know this, because I know many viewers, even those who we potentially interview, we do not invite you here to attack you, and that's important to note. We invite you for a discussion. We may not have an agreement in reference to our viewpoints, but this is not about personal attack on anybody. We don't do that here, and I would not tolerate it here as the one who not mainly hosts the program. I do not invite people to a program to attack them. I tell you how I feel about you on my personal platform, but not here. Okay?
I will send this video to Glenn and then
So
let him
Permanent wants us to invite Jagdeo. Let's do that. Let's invite Bar Jagdeo then. No problem. He can come too.
invite the VP. He's not VP, man. He's the second vice president.
This boy
Permanent,
needs help, man.
you must go and read
Parmesan,
your constitution. You must
Guyana
go and
doesn't
read
have
your
a vice
constitution.
presidential office in this country.
Yes,
Hush, man.
yes.
The first vice president is always the prime minister.
The Prime
Jagdeo is
Minister.
not the first vice president.
You're making yourself a fool,
Oh
Permanent. Go
my
and read the
goodness.
constitution. Jagdeo is the second vice president, and we don't need to call these guys His Excellency and honor. Who makes them? Who gives them?
Nonsense.
It's nonsense. I don't address them. I call them by their first name. You listen to the British program. They don't call the Prime Minister. They call him. They call him by his first name
Exactly.
and the opposition leader. Why
He's
do
a
we give
colleague.
them honor?
He's a
Huh?
parliamentary colleague. That's who he is. And he's
Exactly.
the leader of the people for
Yes.
the people. That's
For
what
the
he's
people.
supposed. He's elected by the people.
Yes.
So, Brother Jenna, thank you so much. We
Okay.
had a blast tonight. It was fun. It was serious. It was informative. And I know that many persons are better informed about what Jagdeo said. And I want to leave the viewers with this image. Never let it leave your mind. This is Guyana. This is Oil Rich Guyana right here. In
I'm
the
going to.
same where
I'm, I'm
Ifanadi
going
lives.
to. I'm going to report when that thing is repaired.
Please do. It will be done hopefully by the end of the week. I know these people well enough.
Yeah.
And
Right.
let me end by saying this. And in all seriousness, I commend the PPP for one thing very, very important. They act, at least when we speak. They make an effort to show that they're doing things when they are challenged. That's a fact. At least they demonstrate that degree of maturity. When we call them out, their nasty, disgusting leadership is highlighted in some cases, they act. Brother Jenna, I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for being the strong-willed and tough-mannered person that you are. Guyana needs more like you. I'm grateful.
Thank you
Do
very
well, my
much.
brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, viewers. Enjoy your evening.